Greetings, my hopelessly nostalgic Earthlings. Welcome to the 1980s TV show challenge, where your faded memories of shoulder pads, mullets, and malfunctioning VCRs are about to be put to the test. 5 levels of increasing difficulty. You'll be shown one single image from an 80s show, and you must name it. Sounds easy? Well, that's what you said before your species invented ALF. We'll start with the obvious hits that even your pet goldfish could recognize. But by levels 4 and 5, only true TV, scholars, or beings with brains the size of small moons, will survive. So grab your remote, your Rubik's Cube, your safety blankie, and your last remaining brain cell. Here we go. Level 1. If you miss these, hand in your remote and go sit in the corner with your Cabbage Patch Kid collection. Magnum P.I., 1980 to 1988. Three's Company, 1977 to 1984. The Dukes of Hazzard, 1979 to 1985. The A-Team, 1983 to 1987. Different Strokes, 1978 to 1986. The Wonder Years, 1988 to 1993. MASH, 1972 to 1983. ALF, 1986 to 1990. The Golden Girls, 1985 to 1992. WKRP in Cincinnati, 1978 to 1982. The Greatest American Hero, 1981 to 1983. Matlock, 1986 to 1995. Inspector Gadget, 1983 to 1986. Knight Rider, 1982 to 1986. Fantasy Island, 1977 to 1984. Chips, 1977 to 1983. Mork and Mindy, 1978 to 1982. Family Ties, 1982 to 1989. Congratulations! You've proven your brain still receives analog signals. Hunter, 1984 to 1991. Taxi, 1978 to 1983. Miami Vice, 1984 to 1989. Cheers, 1982 to 1993. Lovejoy, 1986 to 1994. Pee-wee's Playhouse, 1986 to 1990. Highway to Heaven, 1984 to 1989. Level 2. Slightly tougher, but still easier than setting the clock on that VCR. Growing Pains, 1985 to 1992. Heart to Heart, 1979 to 1984. Full House, 1987 to 1995. Dempsey and Makepeace, 1985 to 1987. L.A. Law, 1986 to 1994. T.J. Hooker, 1982 to 1986. The Facts of Life, 1979 to 1988. Murder, She Wrote, 1984 to 1996. Star Trek: The Next Generation, 1987 to 1994. MacGyver, 1985 to 1992. Bosom Buddies, 1980 to 1982. Max Headroom, 1987 to 1988. Cagney and Lacey, 1982 to 1988. Married with Children, 1987 to 1997. Bergerac, 1981 to 1991. St. Elsewhere, 1982 to 1988. Quantum Leap, 1989 to 1993. Benson, 1979 to 1986. "21 Jump Street", 1987 to 1991. Airwolf, 1984 to 1987. Dynasty, 1981 to 1989. Charles in Charge, 1984 to 1990. Mama's Family, 1983 to 1990. Beauty and the Beast, 1987 to 1990. Hill Street Blues, 1981 to 1987. Let's be careful out there. Level 3. These aren't the shows you quote, they're the ones you forgot existed. Hardcastle and McCormick, 1983 to 1986. My Two Dads, 1987 to 1990. Newhart, 1982 to 1990. Tales from the Crypt, 1989 to 1996. Square Pegs, 1982 to 1983. China Beach, 1988 to 1991. Who's the Boss? 1984 to 1992. Robin of Sherwood, 1984 to 1986. Quincy M.E., 1976 to 1983. Designing Women, 1986 to 1993. The Fall Guy, 1981 to 1986. Night Court, 1984 to 1992. Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, 1984 to 1987. Head of the Class, 1986 to 1991. The Equalizer, 1985 to 1989. Fraggle Rock, 1983 to 1987. Alfred Hitchcock Presents, 1985 to 1989. Joni Loves Chachi, 1982 to 1983. Perfect Strangers, 1986 to 1993. Coach, 1989 to 1997. Moonlighting, 1985 to 1989. Too Close for Comfort, 1980 to 1987. The Tracy Ullman Show, 1987 to 1990. V, 1983 to 1985. Webster, 1983 to 1989. Level 4, where the faint of brain start to flatline. Matt Houston, 1982 to 1985. Punky Brewster, 1984 to 1988. Mr. Belvedere, 1985 to 1990. Minder, 1979 to 1994. Wise Guy, 1987 to 1990. Sorry, 1981 to 1988. Amen, 1986 to 1991. Mission Impossible, 1988 to 1990. Scarecrow and Mrs. King, 1983 to 1987. In the Heat of the Night, 1988 to 1995. Silver Spoons, 1982 to 1987. It's a Living, 1980 to 1989. Remington Steele, 1982 to 1987. Riptide, 1984 to 1986. Roseanne, 1988 to 1997. Saved by the Bell, 1989 to 1993. Thirty-something, 1987 to 1991. Fame, 1982 to 1987. "227, 1985 to 1990. Wrong! Clearly you spent the decade under a rock. Or worse, watching Home Shopping Network. Private Benjamin, 1981 to 1983. Friday the 13th, the series, 1987 to 1990. The Hogan Family, 1986 to 1991. It Takes Two, 1982 to 1983. Sledgehammer, 1986 to 1988. Just the 10 of Us, 1988 to 1990. Level 5. This is the level where the static gets smarter than you. Flow, 1980 to 1981. Small Wonder, 1985 to 1989. Rags to Riches, 1987 to 1988. Blue Thunder, 1984. Voyagers, 1982 to 1983. Yes Minister, 1980 to 1984. Falcon Crest, 1981 to 1990. Aftermash, 1983 to 1985. Misfits of Science, 1985 to 1986. My Sister Sam, 1986 to 1988. Only Fools and Horses, 1981 to 1991. The Paper Chase, 1978 to 1986. The Powers of Matthew Starr, 1982 to 1983. The Tripods, 1984 to 1985. Midnight Caller, 1988 to 1991. Nicely done, Earthling. You've earned 1 commercial-free minute of my respect. Manimal, 1983. Spencer for Hire, 1985 to 1988. The Young Ones, 1982 to 1984. Allo Allo, 1982 to 1992. Buffalo Bill, 1983 to 1984. Automan, 1983. Double Trouble, 1984 to 1985. Gimme a Break, 1981 to 1987. Me and My Girl, 1984 to 1988. Street Hawk, 1985. Enos, 1980 to 1981. Stingray, 1986 to 1987. Jake and the Fat Man, 1987 to 1992. Well, that concludes today's journey through the televised wasteland of your primitive 1980s. How did you do? Did you soar through the levels like a trivia champion, or did your brain short-circuit somewhere between Miami Vice and Joni Loves Chorchie? Leave your score in the comments so I can calculate just how rare basic cultural awareness is among your species. Then hit like, subscribe, and prepare for another broadcast of brilliance, humiliation, and occasional enlightenment here on BTV. Now excuse me while I degauss my cerebral cortex. I've just endured 5 levels of human 1980s television. Out! Still here? Impressive! You might just have enough brain cells left to handle another video. Click one. Prove me wrong.